The thing that you're afraid to ask help for is like, why? Is there really any truth to if you ask for help, it diminishes you? There's not. We just build, maybe we were told that or we build it up in our head, but it doesn't take your power away. In fact, it gives you more time, I think, on the back end to be more powerful. Now, easier said than done, but can we start small? Can we start with one thing a day that's small and start to delegate a task to somebody else? A lot of the women I work with also, by the way, are high achieving, bosses. They have teams under them and they still don't want to ask their team to do things because in their mind, I have to show up this way so that they do too. I'm like, no. I mean, yes, but no, you have this team, delegate. And then they start doing it and they're like, oh. And then I'm like, and when you delegate, don't fill that space with something else other than something for you. You gave yourself some time so that now you're not working 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go for a walk. Block your calendar. Fulfill yourself, and you can come back and be more productive at your job in less time.
Welcome to Point to Rise, your podcast that gives you permission to dream big, take messy action, and turn your talent into profit while turning your back on perfection. My name is Susanne Puerschel, high performance and mindset coach, former international ballerina, profitable entrepreneur, and founder of Point to Rise, a movement designed to empower dancers. It is my mission to use my own story as an inspiration for today's generation of dancers. And now sit back, stretch, warm up, or sip your coffee and love learning how much it matters to point at yourself first to rise to all that you are capable of. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Point to Rise podcast. I am Susanne, your host, and today's special guest is Jackie Dragone. The two of us met on the internet. Literally, we had a quick conversation and we said, okay, let's do a podcast episode together because I really like you. And this is but how it's going right now. This is how I'm acting. I am really just coming from a place of love and whatever feels right. So Jackie is a health and wellness professional coaching women into their strongest shape, both mentally and physically. She is the founder and CEO of Jackie Dragone LLC and thrives on helping women get out of their own way and step into their full potential. Jackie also has a background in dance, and I cannot wait to share with you all of her stories. And without no further ado, here is Jackie. Jackie, thank you so much for being here. I am so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. I can't wait what we're going to dig out of meeting here for the first time and recording our conversation.
Yes.
So, we have discovered that we have a network that we're both tapping into. We both know Laura and Chris Harder. We both know Jillian, and this is how we got connected. And I would love it if you could take us back to your younger self. What's your story? What's your journey? Why did you dance? Where did that all come from? I am so intrigued.
Yes. Okay. So I was always a really active little girl. I always wanted to be moving or playing a sport, loved music, just loved it. And then my older cousin joined a dance class, and she was 2 years older than me. So anything that she did, I was like, I have to do it. I am the oldest sibling. So to have her, I was always looking up to her. I was like, she's doing it. I have to do it, Mom. Let me go do it. So I went to class and I absolutely just fell in love with it. And I was good at it. I didn't even know. I was just I have rhythm. I can keep the beat. This is great. So this was me at 5 years old. And it started with you get into it and you have to take tap and ballet, 30 minutes each. And then you get older and then you build on it. And then you're doing jazz. And then you're going 3 nights a week. And then you're doing competition. And then you're just so in it. And you're into that high and that thrill of being on stage and just feeling the energy of the audience and the lights and the whole thing. And I just absolutely loved it. And it really became a part of the core of who I was, moving with the music as like a form of self-expression 100% became a core of me.
Wow. So how long did you dance? Like how
Yeah.
long?
Yeah, I started at 5 and I went to college for dance. I went to DeSales University. It's in Pennsylvania, kind of close to the Poconos, like not that far off. And so I went to college for 4 years. Then I moved to New York City right after and went through like the whole audition circuit, had some success, never really went fully pro. And then I stopped going to class, I would say late 20s, 30. I was discouraged from auditioning, honestly. If I'll keep it 100% real, I was just, that scene was so hard. It wasn't me. I was not cutthroat. I was very like welcoming and warm and just wanted everyone to get along. And it was so harsh. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that at all. So I was just defeated from it. And I remember being in a Pilates class one day in Astoria, Queens, at a place called the Yoga Room. And I was just like, had this light bulb moment where I was like, I could teach Pilates. No big deal. I could teach it. I know I could. And I could make a career out of fitness. And I knew it in that moment. And then I went and I signed up and the first thing I did in fitness was Pilates. So to answer that question in a long way, I danced for over 20 years and then I transitioned into fitness.
Wow. Can we go back to your years in New York? And you said it was so cutthroat. You are not a fit for that. Let's go a little deeper into when we're saying cutthroat, what does that really mean? And so many people are not a fit for that. We are all not a fit for that. So why is it like that? Why have we created it? Because if we're all not a fit for it, and I truly believe that it doesn't have to be, then why are we still putting up with it? So if you could go a little bit deeper, what cutthroat really meant for you and why it was so against who you are.
Yeah, it felt like you really had to flaunt yourself and go above and beyond to be seen. Right? You really had to go above and beyond to be seen, which kind of ties into what we're talking about and why we don't put ourselves first very often. But there was like a lot of schmoozing and who and getting into this class and that class. And I was just never the schmoozer. I was never the person that was like, look at me. Like, even though I enjoyed being on stage, it was very much a collective energy. It wasn't about just me. So that environment, I didn't really feel like I thrived in because I didn't want to put myself out the extra step when it felt forced or fake. I just wanted to be there and show my talent and have it seen for what it was instead of, I think a lot of the dance scene in New York was based upon relationships built, which good thing or bad thing, but some of the relationships built were just inauthentic. And because you knew that person could get you from point A to point B instead of because you actually genuinely cared about that person.
So really not authentically showing up as a human being, like that was not something that was encouraged. I don't think personally it's still encouraged in any kind of dance or scene in the industry that, we're always putting on that, look at me, I'm so much better than this person. And that doesn't create like the loving kind of energy that we really need in this world, quite honestly. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. So let's go into, because you transitioned into fitness and having that epiphany is such a beautiful gift, really. How is it different?
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because there could be a lot of parallels in the fitness industry, but it's different because instead of being on stage, you're with people that actually want your help and guidance, and you can offer them your expertise and help and guidance in order for them to get the transformation that they're seeking. And you can do it authentically as yourself. And I think that that's what draws people to you. There's so many fitness instructors, but you're drawn to somebody because of their personality. Something about them resonates with you, right? So then there's like an actual human connection versus, again, like you're lifting the veil of it all. You really, if you do it right, you're lifting the veil of it all. And then you get to make these really deep core connections where you can help guide someone. And I would never take credit for somebody that I work with's journey. It's all them, but you can truly mentor them and guide them and lead them into what it is that they want. And that takes away, the curtain. It becomes authentic and it becomes real, and you're still moving and you're still connecting, and it's just in a different way.
Because it's not about you. It's about helping others.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Lifting the veil, having the courage to show up as who we are is, I believe, something that the arts, dance, whatever industry that is incorporated in the arts is really struggling with, because it is not about helping somebody. It's not about guiding people to be better. No, it's about fitting people into a box, and you have to be exactly this way. And if you're not, I'm going to make you. And if you're still not, I'm going to throw you out and replace you. And I think it's that slight little pivot that is so important, and it trickles down in so many aspects of everything that we're doing, that would actually change it. So good for you for having the courage to just step out of it and saying, you know what, this is no longer serving me. I can try to make myself fit in here. Even though it hurts, I can no longer go on. That's courage. That takes a lot of courage, right? And not many people, more now, but not many people actually can find that courage because they don't believe in their own power. So talk to us about what you're doing now and what your plans are.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And before I do, I want to jump back in and say, like, that whole fitting into a box thing, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I think that I agree with you 100% spot on. It's this way or no. It's this way or no. And the pressure, anyone that's listening that is a dancer or a young dancer, the pressure, it's hard, and don't beat yourself down. Yeah. Because I think it's just important for other people to hear that. So thank you for, articulating that so well. And so what I'm doing now, I have been working in the fitness industry since 2009 at this point. It's crazy. I know. I stayed in New York City for quite a while. I helped build a company that exists now only in Long Island after COVID, but it was called Flex. And they had a Pilates program, a bar program, and TRX. And I was fortunate enough to come in at the very beginning and help them structure the classes, hire the team, train the instructors, and do instructor development and coach the coaches. It was great. It was so fun. I did that for 5 years. And again, I was like, you know what? It's time for me to grow. I've outgrown this. It's time for me to grow into something else. I pivoted completely, and I auditioned to teach cycling, which was wild. So living in New York City, I made a connection. I went and I auditioned for Flywheel, which was a major company. Again, post-COVID, no longer exists, unfortunately. But I made it through the audition, and then I started teaching in New York. I decided to move to Philadelphia. Moving to Philadelphia, within 6 months of working for them, I was overseeing the entire team for Philadelphia and for Washington, D.C., doing something very similar, hiring the coaches and coaching the coaches on how to show up. And I belonged in this world so much because cycling is moving to the beat of the music. And I was like, wow, I feel like I'm back in that magic of dance, but in a way where I can also help people. And it's really not about me. It was a magical time, and I loved the job so much. But we all lost the job right on March. I think it was March 18th, 2020. It was it. It was over.
Seriously? Did they just close down without even taking it digitally or doing anything?
Yeah. That company was unfortunately going through some other legal stuff that they couldn't fully do, transition online. It was a bit complicated. So that was it. And they had to permanently close their doors a few months later. And it was okay though, because it was while I was teaching at Flywheel, I also had developed a method called RhythmLab, which is a total body strength workout that's all set to the beat of the music. So here we go again, right?
Right.
And I was teaching that in person as my side gig, as my side business. And I was like, you know what? This is a nudge from the universe. It's time. And I brought it online, and then I just started to build and build and build a business. And I've built off of that ever since. And here we are 1 year later.
Look at you. So powerful.
Oh
That's
my gosh,
amazing.
thank you.
Well, because you don't stop growing, and you're not afraid of saying, hey, I have come to the point where this relationship is no longer serving who I want to become. And doing that without any kind of blame or judgment or any kind of ill feelings or words, it takes so much awareness and self-love too. So before we hopped on here, I said to you that I wanted to talk about the topic, and you have been working with so many women, why we as women love to put ourselves second. And that it doesn't matter if you're a dancer or a mother or a CEO. Why is it that we default back to, and it's not even serving others by not taking care of ourselves, but why are we thinking of ourselves so little to begin with? You know, do you have a thought on that? I'm sure you do, but I want to riff on that a little bit, see where we get it.
Yeah, I think, all right, the biggest thing that I see, I coach a lot of women with their habits and their mindset outside of fitness. And I think it's fear of asserting ourselves because we'll lose what we've gained. That's what it comes back to, like a fear. And this, I'm speaking very much in career right now, like women that have a hard time setting boundaries with their job.
Right.
Or just, it doesn't even occur to them to say, you know what, this is too much work for me and I'm overwhelmed, because I think it goes back to a fear of what the other people will think, or of them being pushed back, or of their worthiness being taken away because they're saying that they can't handle it. And there is an underlying sense of, like, women right now in this country finding their worth. And owning that for the first time, or realizing that, wow, I'm really not paying attention to what I need. And I think it could be it goes deep. It's society. Like, how many years ago was it that we couldn't even vote? Right. So there is just like an underlying sort of, I don't know the word that I'm trying to come up with here, but there's just this feeling that it's like, okay, second, and then women, right? But that, I think that is starting to flip, but we're catching up to it. And I even can see it, like, in my parents' generation and in my generation, the difference, even the way that we interact in our personal relationships, the difference in how I will assert myself, and at not all times will, like, my parents or my aunts, or, it's different. I do think it's changing, but maybe my generation is one of the first to start to, or the one just above me, to start to say and realize, you know what, we do have power, we do have a say, we do belong, and we're certainly not second. So what is my worth?
And finding that worth, right? Isn't that what we're all somewhere and somewhat struggling with? It's that understanding that, yes, society has taught us that, we're here to bear children and to take care of them, and everything else is left to the male. And it's still going back to that. Like, literally, I hear it over and over again. Even the mindset is, oh, I have to go to school as a woman first before I can do this. Or I have to, money isn't for me. I don't know anything about investing. I'm like, okay, well, there's Google, you can go. But it's that invisible wall that women are trying to get through, understanding that everything is for us. We're not second class. We're not more stupid. I'm just going to say that. We're so capable of everything. And as a mother of 3, I can say that it was really hard for me to learn that if I don't take care of myself, I am not going to show up as the mother that I really wanted to be. And it was so hard to break through that urge of putting myself last.
Wow. I respect that so much. That's amazing.
Right. And it's still like every day it's a new discovery. Okay, what else do I need? And if I'm not showing up here 100%, then what are they going to think of me? But what if I not show up at all? There's so many layers to it. I see that, let's say women in the art, they in dance and ballet, in my niche, they get paid less than the male version of that same job. Where are we? It is 2021 and nobody's saying anything. I just don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right? And it starts with finding your self-worth, like understanding that you are the most important thing to yourself. And it is your responsibility to see you, to hear you, to love you first before anybody else will do the same thing. When you coach these women, when you work with them, and you said you do mindset work and habits, right? You're realigning their habits. Can you, let's go there. Let's see what kind of habits do you see that are the most common that should be readjusted?
Yeah, well, it's completely in line with what we're talking about. And it's almost like putting off their own self-care, be it the way that they're eating. And I do not mean diet by any means. I mean like forgetting or like doing all the work before they stop to have lunch, or waking up and diving into the work before having, like a glass of water and a breakfast, putting aside their own basic needs for the work or the task at hand. That happens all the time. And then they feel tired or overwhelmed or have a headache or no energy. And I'm like, well, let's go back to taking care of you at a very base level, because you can't just take care of your job 24/7, especially in the climate that we're in, where everyone's working from home and companies have decided that we can be available from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. I'm seeing this with so many women. There's no boundary. So then naturally, that's the second thing. It's like, okay, well, what boundaries do you want to lay down? And also speak up and have that conversation with the people that you work with. Speak up and have that conversation with the people that you work with and say your needs, because you weren't in the office from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. before. So like, where are you going to block your calendar for you?
Amen to that. Self-care, such a big topic. Everybody talks about it. There's my dog. What is your container? What's in your container of self-care? I'm curious.
Yeah. Okay. So self-care for me is movement, going outside and feeling the fresh air, nourishing my body well without guilt or shame or overly restricting, but knowing. I really like to pay attention to knowing what nourishing for me is and how it makes me feel when I eat certain things, with its anxiety or stress or fulfilled or, happy, whatever it is. And self-care for me also it's not necessarily like a bubble bath, or maybe it is, but taking time to sit quietly alone, be it meditation or journaling or just sitting quietly alone. Self-care 100%. I love to go on walks. That goes hand in hand with getting outside. So these things are things that for me, I'm not saying they have to work for anyone else, but these for me, I do every single day without question. Like they are a part of my own self-care routine, and they fulfill me. They keep me going. They make me feel grounded and like I can show up of the version of myself that I want to be.
Beautiful. So what I'm hearing you say is that these are also non-negotiables for you.
100% non-negotiables for me.
Okay. What else is in there? Because for me, in my self-care container, there is also the people that I let in my life, meaning what kind of energy I allow into my world. I found that when I was still active, there was so much toxic energy around me that, you are the 5 people that you're surrounding yourself with. And I've gone through several sheddings of, who I let on my island. And so that is definitely in my self-care container, and setting boundaries is also in my self-care container. Because I can have all the building myself up through all of these things. But if I don't have clear boundaries, I'm going to diminish what I build up quickly. It's hard though. Like, wouldn't you agree? Like, I find setting boundaries super, super hard, particularly as a woman in the arts, or as a coach, even as a new business owner, as a mother, because you don't want to disappoint the other side, right? And
Yes.
if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what you're standing for, then setting those boundaries is super hard. Have you had any experience with your clients that have struggled with that?
Yes. Yeah. In the beginning. And I'm so proud of them because they always end up working towards it. And I don't want to say 100% figuring it out. The hardest one that I see them with is usually work related. It's usually the boundary of where they begin and where work stops. And that's the one that we're constantly working on. They're able to implement like exercise and eating easier because there's no one to disappoint on the other side. It's always when there is, like, exactly to your point, when there's somebody else involved that they feel like is going to judge them or has the power to diminish them or to, take something away that they feel is a basic need, like having a job, then that's where it gets tricky for them. Or even in a relationship, like with a husband or with a friend or a neighbor, like that's where it gets tricky. It's always the worry and the fear of disappointing somebody.
Yeah, actually, we're only disappointing ourselves, right?
Yep,
Isn't that
100%.
the core fear?
Yeah, totally. And I always tell them, listen, it is not your job to decide how somebody's going to react to something that you want. It's not your job to control the reaction. It's just your job to do what you need to do for yourself.
My job. Love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you as a coach, I'm assuming you also are surrounded by coaches.
Yes.
What kind of a difference would it have made for you in your life when you were still active as a performer, as a dancer, to actually have that consistent coaching by your side? Have you ever thought about that?
Mm-hmm.
What your life actually could have looked like?
I do. I think, okay, it is going back to worthiness and finding that inner power. The younger version of me, even though I was able to make decisions and steer the bus in different directions, I didn't always feel super confident in it. Or I might have stayed in something longer had I had somebody on my side saying, like, look, your action is a mindset block. And if you maybe approach it from this angle or realize your worth in this way, or like look into yourself for what is unique in you, instead of in everybody else, like going out for the same part or the same role as you, if I had somebody in my corner, like putting that in my ear, I probably would have showed up in a more powerful way instead of showing up as what I thought I was supposed to show up as.
Oh, I love that. Showing up as me versus as I thought I was supposed to. Mm-hmm. Isn't that the truth? Oh man, mm-hmm. that hits so hard. Full transparency, I never in my active years even thought about who was I and who do I want to be, because mm-hmm. I was so fixated on who I was supposed to be and who I needed to be and show up. And we don't understand, even like in these performing arts industries, that is exactly the reason why they're somewhere stuck, because we're not giving them freedom to be who they are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Looking back at what you know, and I usually ask that question later, but like, what would you tell your 16-year-old self right now? Like, what would you give her as a nugget to, hey, consider this, and this will make the path that you're about to embrace so much easier?
Yeah, I would say keep your focus and put your blinders on, because all of the distraction and self-comparison is going to weigh on you, especially as a young person. I can remember comparing myself to others constantly as a younger version of myself. Constantly. It's like all I did, and it beats you down and it steals your joy. Really, truly it does. And it dims your own light. So I would say, look, find your own strengths. What are you really good at? What were you meant to do? It's like, now here we are, and later in life looking for our purpose, or we know our purpose and we just figured it out, right? But what is your purpose as a 16-year-old? And it can change because you're young and you're still developing, but focus on that, where your heart is taking you, and put your blinders on from comparing it to anyone else's journey or what they're offering, because yours is so unique. And that's what I wish somebody was telling me, or I had the power at that time to tell myself. We don't have these conversations as kids. This isn't what we're taught. It would be beautiful if we were.
Or even as young adults, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or have
Exactly.
somebody by our side or a place to go where these conversations are actually possible or open
Yeah.
or welcome.
Yeah.
I have recently discovered that I have a really hard time with asking questions and asking for help.
Mm.
Where is this coming from? Like, why am I so reluctant to reach out? And what really came up for me was that, oh my gosh, the industry, like I was never encouraged to ask questions. When I was asking questions, it was like, why don't you know? Can't you go find
Mm.
out yourself? Like it was that silo mentality was always ingrained. Go
Mm.
figure it out yourself, stand on your own two legs.
Mm.
Don't ask anybody for help because if you're asking for help, you're saying that you're weak. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
an option. You can't be weak if you want to be successful. And I'm just now rediscovering that everything that I learned around that is untrue. So what would you, first of all, have you had any kind of experience with your with your clients that have like the same kind of mindset discoveries around how important it is to collaborate and asking questions? And how do you help them through it? Because it is
Mm-hmm.
such a big topic and it's actually
Mm.
completely disencouraged to ask questions. So
Yeah.
how can we fix that?
Yeah. I have so many clients that go through this. I do. And you know what? The first step is having a conversation about it, which is why I love working in a container of women that can say, okay, I'm going through this too. So many of us are going through this. And then the second thing is, okay, the thing that you're afraid to ask help for is like, why? Is there really like, is there really any truth to if you ask for help, it diminishes you? There's not. What we just build, maybe we were told that or we build it up in our head, but it doesn't take your power away. In fact, it gives you more time, I think, on the back end to be more powerful. Now, easier said than done, but can we start small? Can we start with one thing a day that's small and start to like delegate a task to somebody else? A lot of the women I work with also, by the way, are like high achieving, like bosses. They have teams under them and they still don't want to ask their team to do things because in their mind, I have to show up this way so that they do too. I'm like, no.
No.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but no. Like you have this team, delegate. And then they start doing it and they're like, oh. And then I'm like, and when you delegate, don't fill that space with something else other than something for you. You gave yourself some time so that now you're not working 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Go for a walk. Block your calendar. Fulfill yourself, and you can come back and be more productive at your job in less time.
Beautiful. Isn't it that we are taking what has been given to us as the be and for what we're doing, meaning that without questioning it, it will never change, without having the courage to look at it from a different angle and say, hey, is there a different way? Like if you are working with these powerful women, having teams under them, and they're still struggling, asking their team to do and to help and be vulnerable, we need to start doing that, because otherwise, we are going to be in this perpetual motion of taking our own power away.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I do think there's something super powerful about a person that says, hey, okay, I want you to do A, B, and C. Thank you so much. Right? We see delegating as a bad thing, or we see asking for help as a bad thing, but I think it actually comes across as super powerful and confident. We just have to reframe the way that we're looking at it.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Reframe it. And everything is reframable, right? Nothing is set in stone. It's on us, on how we want to see it and how it serves best on where we want to go. Like this stagnant, no, it is the way it is, and it has to be this way all the time. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Like success has to be hard. You have to work your booty off to be successful. Yes, you do, but you don't have to kill yourself over it. You don't have to put it as your end all be all, and just be in it. And this is a hard word, enthusiastic. Be passionate about it. Ask questions, collaborate with people, be consistent. and have joy. Because if it is not bringing you joy, then you're going to burn out and you will not survive that.
Yeah, you you won't want to do it. No, exactly. No. Exactly.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That was like, I am fulfilled. My cup is full. Thank you so much. That was you're very to the point and very, very good in giving. I'm calling it, it's the German way. I'm German. I can say that. All of you 81 million people living in Germany, forgive me, but that's what we do. We are very quick, black and white, to the point. Thank you so much for being here. Where can we find you? I will log everything into the show notes for sure. But you have programs, you have a fitness online studio. What else is there? And what's coming down the line?
Yes. Okay. So you can find me. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was really great. And it was so nice to sit down and speak with another dance professional because we don't get to have those conversations on the other side. I actually haven't really heard one. So I think what you're doing is super unique and I love it. So thank you for having me. Second, yes, you can find me. Instagram is the easiest place. It's just my name at JackieDragone.com, or excuse me, at Jackie Dragone. And my website is myname.com. So either of those two places you can find me. Virtual studio. You can work with me as a fitness coach, habits and mindset. And I'm really considering, I have this fire in me to help new female entrepreneurs build their businesses and get started. I really do have this fire. And I actually just kind of came to terms with it this week, because after my over a decade in the industry, what I'm seeing is so many coaching programs are really one size fits all. And I'm noticing that doesn't always work for me. And I want to just have somebody who's new and excited and has a brilliant idea and sit down and lead them into the way that it can work for them. Because and when it comes to business, there's more than one way. We just need to empower new female entrepreneurs to see the way that is best for them. And that is in my heart right now. I really want to lead the way for that.
Oh, I love that. We need to talk more. I absolutely love that. Thank you for embracing that. And there are more and more and more rising, right? Like 2020 gave all of us, if you really were open for it, the permission to step into our own power. Because everything that we knew, like, literally disappeared within a day. So,
yeah, 100%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was really lovely. All right, guys, go follow her, tap into her energy, and we're sending you guys so much love. Share your biggest takeaway on your Instagram story, and we can't wait to hear from you. Thank you, my darling.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. If this message resonates with you, please pass it on to someone who needs to hear this right now. And if you like what you've heard, your feedback will go a very long way. If you just take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, that would mean the world to me. Till next time, point at yourself to rise to all that you are capable of.